of the 1989 FBD Milk Ross.
We've got a very, very strong tailwind, so it should be along the line out. It's fast racing, you know. Should be good.
I'm 2 minutes down, but I suppose I can still do it. I mean, this race is so difficult to judge. You know, a group can go up the road and take 5 minutes out.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, the group, there were 20 riders, and it took like 3.5 minutes out of the group, out of the bunch, and nobody thought they were going to come back, but they did. So I'm just going to have to stay in the front groups.
Who do you fancy to win it then?
I'd fancy one of the Russians, I think, number 6.
Or what if we're going to win the Munster Hurling Final?
I hope so.
Declan Lanigan had won Monday's third stage from Boyle to bring him up to 5th place in the general classification as he left Tuam. The overall leader at the start of day 4 was Britain's John Tanner, who had a 16-second lead over Stephen Delaney, with the Soviet Union's Robert Vinovsky lying third. Wind was always going to be a factor in this year's Ross, and the trip south to Tipperary town was going to be helped by a strong tailwind. So far the stages had been relatively flat, and today the most difficult obstacle would be at Bolingbroke, later in the stage, where the riders would encounter a Category 3 climb. We see here the Dutch number 9 René Jukes at the back of the peloton, looking behind at his teammate René Bowen, who has already been in need of a service. But better that it should happen now than in the more crucial later stages of the day. Anyway, the Dutchman rejoined the group and made his way back up towards the front, where he would find that there had been a number of moves off the front of the peloton. This is the second group that have slipped away, among them John Sheehan of Dublin, leader of the points classification in the green jersey. These 4 men, as you see, are working hard to close up on the leading group. And these are the 3-stage leaders. Terry Jackson from Southend is number 26. In the middle of the trio is Brian Lenihan from Cork, and Paul Miller is the New Zealander bringing up the rear on bike number 18. Ex-Ross rider Gabriel Howard told us how stage 4 was shaping up.
Ahead of the main group, which includes the yellow jersey, of course, you know, and the Russians are all back there as well. So I presume the Russians did a lot of hard riding to get up here. Sorry? Oh, Beetle win the All-Ireland, never mind win the Leinster.
So only 30 seconds separating the breakaway groups, but that was cut to nothing when the leaders decided to wait up and have a snack. Or part of a snack. So up came the chasers, one of whom was not impressed at having to do so much chasing.
What? These are all stupid, they are. They don't know how to ride their bikes. I think they're in a one-day race.
Straight talk, but remember, this is not a sport for the faint-hearted. Incidentally, at this stage, this group was over 4 minutes clear of the pack, which meant that John Sheehan was now the FBD Milk Ross leader on the road. But a lot could happen. It was a long way to Tipperary yet. The first preem on stage 4 was at Killimer, where Lenihan, riding for Port Ballyclaw, led the field through ahead of Sheehan of the Dublin Abracababra team. The presence of a British Cycling Federation car is an indication that the event has achieved full recognition as a first-class international event. So what's been happening in the pack? Well, not much, except that the Soviet Robert Vinovsky, third placed at the beginning of the day, has been tracking John Tanner in the yellow jersey. This is Doinis Ozos, another powerful Soviet. And the man with the wave, Dutchman Mario van Berle, another to keep an eye on. So Tanner's teammates are doing all the hard riding at the front to haul back the breakaways.
3 minutes now.
Number 14 is Ian Wright. 15 is Rob Langley. 16, Paul Barrett. And watching Ozols is Paul McQuaid, number 4, riding for Ireland. Up at the front, Paul Miller and Terry Jackson have been led away again, as the others get reeled back in by the bunch. This is the group from which they emerged, as they wait to be picked up. Now the Soviets leading the chase, Ozos and Vanovsky at the head, looking very relaxed. This man, Paul McQuaid, has been able to get away from the peloton, and he's joined the group who are between the leaders and the pack. McQuaid is being allowed to do much of the work to keep this group clear. Still, Jackson, number 26, and Miller, number 18, are away and working hard as they approach the silver mines. That's the situation then. These two are 2.5 minutes up in the main bunch and 1.5 clear of the other 5. Jackson and Miller then begin the long climb up Bolingbrook, contesting the points available for the first 5 riders over the summit. And over they go, Jackson picking up 5 for crossing first, and Miller will get 4. Paul McQuaid leads the next group over, with Mick Walsh from Dublin Fosters earning himself 2 points, and Sheehan gets just 1. And here is Doinis Ozols, charging up after the second group. Brian Lenihan is next over, and he too will join the group on the descent. Here they are all together, and the question is, who wants to do the work? Me, says the Soviet, but you'll have to work to stay with me. And the rest give chase. But Doinis Ozos is too strong. He takes off in pursuit of the leaders, leaving the Irishmen to make their own way up. Not only did the man from Latvia catch Jackson and Miller, he sailed straight past, gambling that his own strength would be enough to take him to Tipperary by himself. McQuaid leads the second group still, up past Jackson and Miller, who tagged on for a tow into town. Ozos continued his drive for Tipperary, where he would finish 21 seconds ahead of the second man home. The Latvian had destroyed the challenge of the Irish, who took the next 4 places. Richard O'Gorman was second, with Frank Relf and John Sheehan in 3rd and 4th, ahead of Alistair Martin from Antrim. John Tanner, who finished in the bunch, became the first to retain his yellow jersey and his 16-second lead over Stephen Delaney of Dublin IRC.
Are the Russians going to win it now, do you reckon?
No way.
No, like it's not necessarily.
Wide open.
Yeah,
like they're good, but they're not like the Russians that came the last few years. They're not as good as them.
He's an animal.
Is he that strong?
Every day so far, it's been his tactic to just attack and attack and attack, and he never stops. He just keeps doing it, doesn't he? And that's.
I was amazed how he went by you. He just came up here and just went.
He went by us first, and I was able to get onto him the first time. And the second time, none of us were able to get near him, so
When he came up to you the first time, you put your hand up in the air. What have you on about that time?
I wanted to go back in behind him because I knew that was his tactic. I wanted to get on his wheel, and I put my hand up to say I was going back to talk to my team manager, and he came up around me and I went onto his wheel. That's how I was able to go with him the first time he attacked.
They have a lot of preparation put in. I think if the Irish worked collectively, we can certainly win stages. We can certainly be up there in the overall. But I think the Russian squad is very, very strong, and the English squad. They're not as strong as the Russians, but they're very eager. They're very young. They're very talented, you know. So they want to impress their director sportives.
I reckon that the Russians, I feel, are the strongest team there. They've proven it today. That guy, he came out of the bunch on his own. He went up to the break. He wasn't happy to stay in the break. He went out in the break on his own and finished strong on his own. And I reckon he did it on the first day. He did it again out of the bunch and finished on his own. So I reckon that the Russians, they are going to be the danger guys. Even though the guy that's in yellow, his team, they controlled the race very well today, and I reckon he's going to be a hard guy to get the jersey off of, but I still feel that the Russians will get it.
Tanner then puts on his second yellow. Sheehan retained the green, and Frank Relf and Robert Vinovsky moved to 3rd and 4th in general classification respectively, as the riders prepared for stage 5.